One of my earliest memories, we lived in a house, I can't remember the number, but it was in Nelson Road in Hornsey, North London. And it was an old Georgian or Victorian building. And my mum and dad had the top floor, the top two attic rooms. And I can remember, because the toilet was down a flight of stairs. So if she went down to the toilet, she used to sit me on the pot. I used to play with my soldiers. I was sitting on the pot. And I think they were lead soldiers because I can remember I could actually draw with them. On paper, I could draw pictures. We left there when I was 4.5, so obviously I haven't got a lot of memories of the place at all. But the thing I do remember is my dad put a sink in there because she didn't have a sink. And he put a line up for the washing. And to put the line up, he took a line from the window to chimney breast opposite. I can remember seeing him walking along the ridge of the roof to attach a pulley to the house opposite so she could put the clothing and stuff out on the line. And I've got particular memories of, it's before Chris was born, so I was under 3.5. But I remember my dad bringing him up just before Christmas. My dad worked for a clothing company in the West End. It was there quite a long time because as a teenager I used to go and work with him. So I used to go to work with him and help him. I used to get deliveries of cloth or deliveries of clothes. It was like the warehouse man. And I used to help people unload trucks and things. And they always used to give me £0.50 or just for helping. So it was quite lucrative. In those days, I think he was earning about £4 a week. So to get £0.50 2 or 3 times a day, 7 and 6 a day was a lot of money. But it was not long after the war. My dad came home just before Christmas one night and he bought my mum a dress, a red corduroy dress, A-line, and a coat, a green corduroy coat. Corduroy was quite new then. I just remember how pleased she was. I mean, you couldn't get clothes. Just after the war, everything was on ration. You couldn't get clothes. If you could, they were expensive. So she was really pleased, And I remember Priory Park feeling simply because Mum used to leave me with her mum every day while she worked. So I grew up with Carol in my nan's house. And apparently, for a time, I was calling my nan Mum because Carol called her Mum. And I remember going through this park, I remember one day I actually saw my granddad in the park. We were going through the park. My granddad was in the park playing bowls. So, and they're probably the earliest memories I've got. I always wanted to work on the stock exchange. Don't ask me why. I just thought it was a good thing to do. And my mum used to do some cleaning for a guy who worked, he was a stock jobber. Not a stockbroker, a stock job. I don't think you get jobbers now. But when I was a kid, you get the jobbers who actually bought and sold shares on their own behalf. And the brokers who bought and sold shares from the jobbers on the behalf of the clients. And because I was interested in it, when I was about 17, my mum mentioned it to this guy and he said, well, you can get a job with our company. So I went and saw him, he'd sort of interviewed me. He offered me a job, so I took it, which upset my headmaster. He gave me detention for playing truant on the day I went for the interview. But I knew I didn't do well enough in the O-levels to go straight to university, and I was actually doing an extra year. And I was doing subjects, I was doing language subjects, and I just had no interest. I wasn't doing well at them, probably because I had no real interest in them. But when this guy offered me this job, I took it. What I found out after I'd done it for nearly a year, no, I did it for nearly a year. While I was doing it, what I found out was that basically I was just the office boy, making the tea and running the errands, and I just found it very, very boring. And I was coming home from work one day on the bus, and I looked over, there's a guy reading the paper, the Evening Standard. And I saw over his shoulder an ad. It was ICT was the company for computer operators. At the time, nobody really knew what a computer was, because it was in the 60s. But I saw the ad, and the money looked good. It was £10 a week. I think at the time I was earning about £7 a week, so it was half as much again. Plus it was shift work, you get an extra 25% shift work, you know, £12.50. So I applied. I remember on the application they asked which O-levels you had. So I wrote down which O-levels I had, and I spelt physics wrong. I think I spelled it with an I instead of a Y, which made me feel I probably wouldn't get the job. The way the guy spoke to me, I wasn't going to get the job. But in fact, they offered me a job, so I took it. It was shift work. It gave me a lot more independence. I mean, up until then, I've been going home every night. I was living with my mum and dad. But the fact that I was out working all night, it was 2 weeks at a time, we worked nights. It just gave me a lot more independence. I felt more independent, and the money was good. And that's when I got into computers. We used to go to parties and things, you know. And people would say to me, you know, well, what'd you do? And I go sometimes with people that I work with, and we talk about the work, and people couldn't understand what we were talking about. Because we'd talk about things like peripherals, so people just didn't know what a peripheral was. When I was a teenager, I used to listen a lot to Radio Luxembourg. This was before Radio 1 or anything. Radio Luxembourg was broadcast from Luxembourg, but after 7 o'clock at night, they were all English shows. They were all recorded and broadcast from Luxembourg, but some of them were recorded in Manchester Square, the MI building. And they used to, every other Tuesday, for an hour, they would record 2 half-hour shows to play on the Friday. And if you could get into one of those, they used to give away tickets for the next one, so you could go every other week. And when I was about 14 or 15, we used to go to all these shows. And once you get into it and start going to those shows, you'll find there'll be people there who give away tickets for other free shows, for TV shows. The Beatles singles, you know, the Beatles produced two LPs of all their singles. There's a picture of them leaning over stairs on the cover. That was taken at Manchester Square, the MI building in Manchester Square. But we used to go along there, and I suppose I always liked music. As a kid, even younger, I used to like to listen to Uncle Max on a Saturday morning, where you'd hear things like the Billy Goat Gruff and sort of kids' songs. But when I became a teenager, I got quite heavily into Buddy Holly. Although he'd been dead a couple of years, I liked Buddy Holly's music. I started buying that. And then, with some friends, we started getting these tickets to go to Manchester Square for these Radio Luxembourg recordings. They used to play records, but they'd usually have a couple of guest artists as well. And I can remember seeing people. I saw Rolf Harris there when he did Two Little Boys and stuff like that. People like Helen Shapiro, Walking Back to Happiness. And a lot of the very early 90s, I mean, I would have been, it's 1960 when I was 13, this would be about 1961. But a lot of those sort of pop stars, Beyonce, and occasionally, I remember seeing, there was a guy called Eden Kane. I don't know if you know Eden Kane. His brother was Peter Sarsted, I don't know if you know him. But they made some kind of pilot television show, and we got tickets to go and see that as well when I was 14 or 15. And I just like music. I mean, I used to go to concerts. When Tom Jones first came to London as an unknown, through the school I went to in Westminster, we got tickets for a concert at, I think it was the Methodist Central Hall, of all places. And it was a group called The Bachelors that topped the bill. Marianne Faithfull was on the bill, and this brand new singer from Wales, Tom Jones. Just see a lot of stuff. I had a girlfriend who got tickets to see the Brian Epstein spectacular at the Finsbury Park Empire, which was later the Rainbow. So I saw the Beatles there. Didn't hear them, didn't hear a bloody thing, because all the girls were screaming. Not just through the Beatles, but Cilla Black, The Foremost, a lot of Brian Epstein managed bands did this show. Everybody just screamed all the time. I was only about 10 rows back from the stage. Didn't hear a word, didn't hear anything apart from the girls screaming. But that's really, I just like music. I'm not particularly musical, well, not now. I haven't heard any music for 18 years now. But I wasn't particularly musical myself. I wasn't able to create music for myself, but I just love listening to it. And as a result, I went to lots of concerts. I say lots. We'd see people like T-Rex, and I remember going to see Ray Charles at the Hammersmith Odeon. But the music changed. I mean, when I went deaf, I told people I've never heard the Spice Girls, and they used to tell me how lucky I was. I miss the music. I watch music shows, and I read biographies and autobiographies about musicians. I mean, I've still got a big interest in music, even though I can't hear it. I watch, there's a music quiz in Australia that we like to watch, where they ask musical questions. And up to about 1997, I'm usually all right, but beyond that. Although there was something on the television the other day I was watching here. I think it was, is it Pointless? A quiz show. And they wanted to know who recorded the song I Kissed a Girl, and I knew it was Katy Perry. Now, I don't know why I knew it was, I've never heard it, but I knew it was Katy Perry, so. I like to watch, I can't hear them, but I like to watch the Rolling Stones. I mean, Mick Jagger must be 72 or 73 now, and he still prances around like a teenager. I mean, he's incredible. I mean, I don't want for anything. I've probably got everything. I'd like more money. I'd like to be able to come back here a lot more often. Well, Australia is an incredible country, really. It's, the weather's good. Most people are fairly well. I mean, there isn't the poverty there that you get here. People don't complain about being poor or of the people I know, they don't. You eat well. I think the medical services are fantastic, you know. I think that they really look after the people there. And the attitudes, I mean, most Australians appreciate that they have to work for their money, but if they work hard, they're usually rewarded. You know, they don't expect anything for nothing. So I just hope everybody has a long life and we're all prosperous. What can you hope for, really?